Shalom. This week, this coming Shabbat, the Jewish people all over the world will read the portion of Korach, portion of the Torah in which we are going to read about the rebellion of a very charismatic leader of Israel going against the supreme leader of the Jewish people, Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Torah begins by saying, Vaikach Korach, which translated literally, which will mean, and Korach took. But the verse does not tell me what did he take. All the verse is citing is the family, the ancestry of Korach. And then it goes on with the story that 250 princes of the congregation of Israel rose together under the leadership of Korach, and they gathered around Moshe and Aharon, telling them, enough of you, Rav Lachem, ki kol ha'eda kulam kedoshim. All the congregation is holy. Why do you take superiority over all of us? And that's extremely astonishing, surprising. I mean, we're talking about Moses, who brought the redemption to the Jewish people from Egypt. It is Moses and Aharon, his brother, who, with the command of God, they have brought upon the land of Egypt total destruction and the 10 plagues, as we know, which resulted in the freedom of the Jewish people finally after hundreds of years of slavery. It is Moses who saw God practically almost face to face. For 40 days and 40 nights, he learned the Torah from God himself for one purpose, to teach it to the Jewish people. Therefore, he became the teacher of Israel of all generations. And here comes Korach, a very important leader, extremely rich, extremely powerful, very honorable, and respected. And according to our sages, also a great Torah scholar. And he gets up and he rebels against Moshe and his brother Aharon HaKohen, the priest. How is it possible? Now, what kind of rebellion was that? We understand, our sages say, that apparently Korach wanted some kind of leadership, the princehood over the Jewish people. And he says to Moshe, you took everything. It's not fair. What about me? What about my family? How can you talk to a leader like Moshe, who until a certain time he was regarded as almost as a god? Until all the Jewish people saw the great miracles of the splitting of the sea, that's when they realized finally that it is God and not Moshe. But still we understand that Moshe was revered. How is it possible that a man would rise after seeing so many miracles and after seeing that God himself speaks to Moses? How does he get the desire, the courage to stand and to face the real leader of Israel, Moshe, our teacher? There is only one answer. One answer that everyone understands. The power of jealousy. The power of jealousy. What jealousy can do to a human being? It is very possible that a person was blessed with everything. And yet if he becomes jealous of someone, he becomes practically a wild beast. He does not remember anymore all the good things that God gave him. What interests him is the good that God gave to the other. Why him? Why not me? Jealousy, if not controlled in accordance with the teachings of Rabbeinu Yonah in the book Sha'arei Teshuvah, practically could lead to destruction. Our sages said in Pirkei Avot, in the book of the fathers, "Hakin'a ve'ta'ava ve'kavod motzi'im et ha'adam min ha'olam." Jealousy, temptation, and honor are the three motives that could bring a person to total destruction and getting him out of this world. Jealousy. Now, what do we learn also about jealousy from the story of Korach? That jealousy lurks. The danger of jealousy lurks at everyone. Not only the small people, but could be even worse by bigger people, by very important people. Our sages said, "Kol gadol mehavero yitzro gadol hemenu." Anyone who is greater than his fellow man, then his evil inclination is even greater. Evil inclination includes also jealousy, as well as haughtiness, as well as everything. You become jealous of someone whom you think he is your equal, and therefore immediately you are stricken with that horrible feeling. Why him? Why not me? It is totally destructive. Jealousy requires education, requires, number one, humility. One has to learn humility in order to gain control over that which we call jealousy. Now let us ponder upon this. Jealousy is a human nature that should be controlled. If that's the case, why did God create such a nature? If jealousy is so bad, why is it that Hashem is, God Almighty, should create such a thing? Of course, we should ask the question also, why did God create evil inclination? Well, we can understand that. If we have something to fight in this world, then we deserve something in case we overcome, right? Well, that could possibly include also jealousy, because jealousy is a terrible danger. Therefore, it requires defensive system. It requires education. It requires the learning of humility. But why is it that God created jealousy? It has another reason. Because jealousy is very good also. Taken from its positive side, jealousy is important. Without jealousy, people will not learn. What makes people desirous of learning and gaining more and more knowledge? It's because there is competition in this world. I mean, you see someone who is tremendous in knowledge, you get jealous. And that's safe. That's a very healthy jealousy. Because this way, because it will result on you going to study further, so that you will become also great in knowledge. That's one reason. King Solomon himself said, Kin'at sofrim tarbe chokhmah. I mean, the jealousy between the wise people will only increase wisdom. I would like to talk about a third kind of jealousy. Not exactly jealousy, but rather something that we can tolerate, and yet it might surprise people. That sometimes people can become drunk with study. The study of knowledge, the knowledge of Torah. Take a great man, a great rabbi, a great Torah scholar. He studies all day. He enjoys so much. There is no way how to describe the enjoyment and the sweetness of the learning of Torah. It could have also a point that might be negative. when you see yourself learning a whole day after accumulating a tremendous deal of knowledge, you cannot run away from a certain feeling of grandioseness, of superiority over other simple fellow men. Sometimes if you don't watch yourself, it could bring you to a big failure. I could cite very carefully, a certain story that is brought in the Talmud in Masechet Ta'anit on page 29, I think. There's a story of Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, a great man. One day he learned so much Torah, he came out from the house of study drunk with Torah. And suddenly a very simple man came. And he said to him, as every Jew, when he sees a great Torah scholar, he comes to him with respect and he says to him, Shalom, peace upon you, my master. When the rabbi looked upon him, he saw that he was extremely ugly. The rabbi, for a second, he was completely out of himself. So he said, oh my God, you're so ugly. The man became extremely offended. You call me? I mean, you have anything against it? Why don't you talk to the Almighty who made me this way? And then he left. The man left extremely offended, very disappointed of one of the great masters of the Jewish people behaving like a nobody. Rabbi Elazar suddenly woke up. What have I done? What have I done? Oh my God! How could I have done such a thing? He ran after the man. Please, please, forgive me, forgive me. The simple man would not hear of him. Leave me alone. You are a nobody. You are not a rabbi. Leave me alone. And then the man disappeared. And the rabbi, what can he do? I'm sure the rabbi was crying, asking forgiveness from the Lord. But this is not sufficient. You still have to acquire forgiveness from the man himself. In the meantime, the Rabbi Elazar, was to follow a certain job that he had. He was to appear before a multitude of Jews in the city. He was to lecture them. And thousands of people came to hear the great master. Among them was also the guy. He didn't know. And then he asked the people, who is the man that you are revering so much? They said to him, here is the man. That's Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon. He said, what? That's the guy who called me ugly? I don't forgive him. The people, and he started to talk very bad about him. The people wanted to kill the man. So the tumult caused a very big noise that came to the ears of the Rabbi Elazar, who was standing at a platform that was built especially for him so that he can address the Jewish people. When he saw from far what's happening, he got it. He understood. And he said, stop, stop. Let me use the opportunity to ask before the multitude of Israel forgiveness. He said to them, you want to listen to a man like me? I do not deserve to tell you anything, because here is the sin that I have committed. Please, I ask from you for forgiveness. I ask from this man forgiveness. Please beg him that he should forgive me. Well, the Talmud tells us, the Midrash tells us, that finally the man forgave him. But the question still remains. How could a man of supreme knowledge be such a fool? The Jewish people is not used to this kind. Even a simple man will not do that. A Jew does not vilify another Jew. A Jew does not disregard or disrespect another Jew, let alone a master of knowledge like Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Shimon. This can teach us only one thing. I mean, there are many mysteries in this world. God created jealousy. He created many things. Sometimes you have to make a mistake in order to retrieve the right way. You have to make a mistake. You have to fall into a mistake in order to come back to life again. I am sure Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, was not anymore the same man. And by the way, he was a very humble man all his life. But as I said before, he was drunk for a minute. He came out from the house of study satiated with the Torah. You cannot avoid having a feeling of haughtiness, at least for a minute, when you have this kind of feeling. In fact, the commentators explain that this was in fact his love for the Torah that made him go wrong for 1 second. He did. I mean, he punished himself enough. He humbled himself and he learned his lesson, and he will never do it again. But in the meantime, the Jewish people can understand this. What we cannot understand is the kind of jealousy from which you cannot derive anything. You cannot win and have any benefit. Just following your instinct of why him, not me. That's the kind of jealousy that is destructive. That's the kind of jealousy that does not give you anything. Well, I understand the kind of jealousy that will make you something better, a better human being. Fine. But a jealousy from which you cannot gain anything, but even worse, it's terrible. That's the story of Korach. It says in the very beginning of the portion of the Torah, Vaikach Korach. And Korach took. And no mention of whatever he took. Which teaches us that when you rebel, when you get up and you rise against good, great people, just because of your jealousy that is burning in your, a fire of jealousy that is burning in you, not even thinking of what you can get. How can you even assume to get anything after facing the cherished and revered leader of the Jewish people? No matter how great is your charisma, there is a limit to everything. So you know you are not getting anything. So why even beginning such a thing? That's a great musar, great moral that we have to learn before we do anything that is negative. At least to make a calculation. What is it that I am going to get? If I get something positive, sometimes it's possible to tolerate it. But if not, just for the sake of responding to your instinctive evil, that cannot be tolerated. That's one of the lessons that we can learn from this portion of Korach. Shabbat Shalom.